Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista. I am just finishing up doing some canning. I had to clean my freezers out because I am going to be making a whole bunch of Christmas cookies, so I kind of needed some freezer space. I realized I had about 6 or 7 bags of tomatoes in my freezer. So last night I put them in my roaster oven here, and I pureed them. So I took the skins off, took the seeds out, and then put it back in here, and I left it slow cook all night. So I have this really nice thick sauce right now. I've already canned up 7 quarts, and I think I have about 3 more in here. So I'm just gonna quickly get them put into my water bath canner for about 40 minutes. So I have a little tiny bit left in here, and I think I'm just going to put it in one of these, and then I'll just leave it in the fridge for if I need it for a recipe. I'm just gonna get these into the water bath canner. These have to go in here for 40 minutes. Ideally, you do not want to run your water bath canner with only 2 in, and I actually need to add more water because it's not high enough. Okay, I'm gonna get that to a full rolling boil, and then we'll start the timer for 40 minutes. I honestly thought that I was done canning, and then I looked in my freezer and seen that I had 7 bags of tomatoes, and they were taking up a lot of space. I really wanted to actually make some ketchup with this stuff, but then I kind of did an inventory, and I have a lot of ketchup already in my pantry. So I just, again, I think I've explained this before in another one of my canning videos. I always like to do just a bare bones tomato sauce, no salt, no flavoring, no nothing. And that way that in the future when I do run out of ketchup, I'll have all of these quarts of tomato sauce that I can just make up a big batch of ketchup when I'm getting close to running out. And also, like, I go through more pasta sauce than I would say ketchup, so I have the freedom again. If I run out of pasta sauce, I have all of this already preserved. So it feels good to get that freezer kind of cleaned up, and then one of my last major canning projects done in December. But I mean, I'm always canning throughout the winter. Like, I am constantly making broth because we use so much broth. I would say that we probably use a jar a day of broth because I try to incorporate it into all of our meals. So I'm always going to be canning that during the winter, and then some odd meat projects that I might do. So I need to get that roaster pan cleaned up, and then I am going to make some dark brown sugar. Cleaning this roaster oven is like one of my least favorite things to do. It is so clunky and big. It's so hard to clean, but I love it so much. It is so easy to do big batch canning with. To a full rolling boil, so now I just set the timer for 40 minutes. When I was making last week when I was making pumpkin muffins, I'm trying to think what I made. It was pumpkin muffins with walnuts. I used dark brown sugar, and I noticed that my dark brown sugar had gone like really rock hard, and there was hardly any left. So I kind of put it on a note for myself that I need to make my dark brown sugar. Yesterday, I made up a batch of my light brown sugar, but for the recipe of pumpkin muffins, which is one of Stephen's very favorite ones, I might make this week again, I need to have dark brown sugar. So I am going to make up a batch right now. I also use these little, they're clay teddy bears, and they actually really work. I thought it was kind of like a gimmick. I'd seen them at, I think it was Bath & Beyond, Bed Bath & Beyond. Amazon also has them, and I'm probably gonna order another one on Amazon. I thought it was a gimmick, but I put it in my brown sugar and it actually really works. It keeps my brown sugar from going hard. So I wanna get another one and then put it into this jar because this is my dark brown sugar. I don't use dark brown sugar very much, so I don't need a lot of it. So I'm only gonna make probably enough just to fill this jar. This is, I don't know, maybe a half-gallon jar. I don't know what size it is. So all as I do to make my brown sugar is I just use, this is a organic evaporated cane sugar, and that probably will be enough. Just dump the sugar in there. And then depending on what type of brown sugar you're making, so like for this light brown sugar, I did not put very much molasses in it. All I'm using here is just a organic molasses, and you put as much in it as you would like to darken up your brown sugar. So this one, I probably only, in this amount, I probably only put, I would say maybe 2 tablespoons, possibly 3 tablespoons. But this one, I'm probably gonna put like, I don't know, maybe 1/4 of a cup. I just kind of dump it and see, like that's probably gonna be enough. I dump it and see what color it comes out to, and then darken it if need be. And again, because we're making a dark brown sugar, it's okay if it comes out really dark because that's what we're making. So I just put on my paddle attachment into my KitchenAid mixer, just lock it. And we're just gonna run it on slow, which is about a 2, because we don't want sugar to fly everywhere. And you do have to adjust the speed because sometimes it does slow down. So I go kind of more of a 3 just to get it really incorporated. And once it's really incorporated and turning really good, then I'll turn it back down to a 2. I'm just gonna lift and scrape the sides, and I'm just gonna put my glasses on. So this is how dark it is right now, and I think I want it to go a little bit darker than that, because this is like what I normally have my sugar at, is this color. I don't want to be too close. So I think we'll just go a touch darker than that. But I'm just scraping down the sides right now just to get all that molasses that's stuck on the sides. I've been making my own brown sugar for years now, and I did not realize how it was made. I had no idea it was just molasses and white sugar. And once I found out, I saved so much money not having to buy it from the store because brown sugar is so expensive. Okay, we're just gonna add a touch bit more. That's probably good. Just gonna put that jar in my sink so that it doesn't drip all over my counter. And so now I'm just gonna leave this mix for a couple of minutes just so that it can get good and incorporated. Okay, that looks good and incorporated. So I'm just gonna take it out and put it in this jar. It is super, super sticky, and I think the molasses causes it to get that sticky, and that's why brown sugar tends to harden up. So I definitely need to get one of those little bears. You can, and I have tried it, and it works okay, but you can, sorry, I'm scraping the bowl and I don't want you guys to have to listen to that. You can put in a slice of bread, and that also helps keep your brown sugar from going hard. I've tried it, it works okay. I've definitely found that that terracotta bear works the best. And I'm wondering, you could probably even get away with using just a piece of terracotta pot, provided that it doesn't have anything sprayed on it or anything. That might work also. Perfect. Now we have our dark brown sugar. I probably could have went a little darker on that brown sugar. So this is what I consider my light brown sugar, and this is what we just made today. The camera is probably gonna try to make them look very similar, but this one is definitely darker. I'm actually really feeling like I should have gone a lot darker with that, but it's fine. The only thing I really use it in is that pumpkin recipe, so it'll be fine. You could probably actually interchange light with brown. I think just the benefit to having the darker brown sugar is it has a higher molasses taste, which I could even end up putting just a little, like an extra teaspoon or something of molasses in that recipe. So that's what I might do. So what else I have on the list for today is I want to make a smothered pork chop for supper. And I have been finding, since that it's getting like darker a lot earlier, like by 4:30 it's usually pretty dark here, I find that I am like just not motivated to make supper lately. Like I don't know what it is. I just have completely lost motivation. Maybe it's like coming off of the holidays, and the fact that we're going into more holidays. I don't know what it is, but I have got zero motivation to cook, which is very much not like me because I absolutely love being in the kitchen. I am going to quickly go online and see if I can find a couple pork recipes, and then we can get started making that pork. We'll just have to end up reheating it because it's only 10:30 in the morning. But I really am kind of feeling like I want to get that off of my list of to do tonight. So we're gonna get it early, and then when Steven gets home tonight, we'll just reheat it for supper. I found a recipe online for a country, you guys can't see me again. I found a recipe online for a country fried pork with white gravy. I've never made this before, so it is going to be an experiment. But first, I actually want to get some butter tarts made. This recipe was my Nana's recipe. It is by far my favorite treat. This is a Canadian, it's a Canadian recipe. They are very, very popular in Canada. You can buy them at the stores. They're delicious. I almost think they're kind of like a pecan pie in a way, but in a smaller form because it's a tart. They are not available here in the US. I have looked and I can't find them again. The only thing comparable that I could even begin to compare it to would be like a pecan pie. So we are going to make some butter tarts. I actually want to show you guys a whole bunch of like my favorite Canadian desserts. Like Nanaimo bar is another one. It is like a chocolate custard kind of layered. I don't even think that's the right way to describe it. It's delicious. You have to like coconut though because there is coconut in it, but we're not making that today. So we are going to make some butter tarts. I need to get this oven preheated at 375. Sorry if I'm cut off, guys. I just want to show you what I'm doing here. So I have a muffin tin, one of these Pampered Chef stoneware muffin tins. So what I'm gonna do is I just made some pie crust and I let it chill for a bit. So I am going to roll it out and then I am going to fit it into these little muffin tins. You can buy the pre-made tart shells. That works perfect for this, but I don't have them, and this is another way of making them essentially. So I'm just gonna roll the dough out so that we can fit it into these into those muffin tins. This is a recipe that I remember having as a child, even as an adult, like just going to the grocery store and buying them. Again, it's kind of like, it's weird to think that they're not available everywhere. I did not know growing up in Canada, I did not know that they weren't available all over the world. I just thought it was a normal thing. But then when I moved to the US years and years and years ago, I discovered that they were not available. So whenever we go and do little trips to Canada, I used to just buy them, but I just now make them because I have the recipe available to me and they're delicious. So I don't want it to be too thick of a dough because you don't want the pastry to kind of overpower the filling. It is also a very, very, very sweet dessert. I don't want to flour this dough too much though. Okay, I'm going to get my cookie cutters out, and I think I'm going to go for the biggest size because I think that we'll try it on the biggest size, and if not, we'll go down and see if that's going to be good enough to fit in there. Just take our muffin tin. You guys can't really see. Just take our muffin tin and we're just going to fit it in. Now this is stoneware. I don't have this greased. We might need to we are using the biggest one. Okay. So that is what it looks like in there. So we'll fill this up. This recipe, it doesn't say how many it makes, and I can't remember. We might end up having to make another pie crust. We'll see. You could also use like one of those mini tart pans too. I have a couple of them, but I just want the bigger ones right now. So we got 11 pieces out of that pie dough. Some of them are thicker than others, which might change the way that they cook, but that's fine. And we do not need to pre-bake them. They have to be unbaked for this recipe. So it's going to be an experiment cooking in this stoneware because I've not attempted to make these in this stoneware before. So I probably will have to adjust the cooking time. Okay, so we've got them filled. What I'm going to end up doing before we put this in the oven once everything's filled is I'm just going to put a little bit of water in this side. It just kind of helps them steam a bit better. I have 1/3 cup of butter, and I am just gonna get it melting in this saucepan over like a medium heat. So what we need to do is beat these eggs. So I'm gonna put them in a larger bowl here. We have them beat pretty good. We are gonna add 1 cup of white sugar, just cane sugar. So butter tarts come in, you can get all different kinds. The traditional butter cup has raisins in it. This recipe does call for 1 cup of raisins. You can also find butter cups that or butter tarts, I don't know why I'm calling them butter cups, butter tarts that have like nuts in them also. I am going to omit, I'm gonna put raisins in half of it. So traditionally you would add the 1 cup of raisins right now to this, but because Stephen does not like raisins, I don't want to put it in the whole mixture. So once we get to the point where we're pouring this into the tarts, I am gonna add raisins to half of them. So right now I'm omitting the 1 cup of raisins, but traditionally this recipe has 1 cup of raisins and you would add it in with this stuff. And to this we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. It's a little bit more than 1, but it's okay. I'm just kind of watching my butter because I don't want it to burn. Okay, so I've got the butter melted. I'm gonna turn it off but leave it on the stove. So then we're going to add 4 tablespoons of cream. Now this recipe calls for half and half. I don't have half and half. I know that I can make it by adding half cream, half whole milk, but I don't have it, so I'm just gonna use a full cream here. So I'm gonna put in 4 tablespoons. It's gonna be nice and rich. I think that's, ooh, I think I put more than 4, but okay, we'll see. And then we're just gonna mix it up together. Okay, so now we have to boil this at medium heat for 3 minutes. But because I have that butter hot and I have eggs in here, I don't want to scramble my eggs. So I'm actually, to this bowl, I'm just gonna temper in my egg or my melted butter so that it can kind of heat it up slowly without completely scrambling my eggs. So I'm just gonna add like a little bit at a time. So to that saucepan where we just melted that butter, we're gonna add this to that pot. So I have this on medium heat and we are going to bring it to a boil and we're gonna let it boil for 3 minutes. I think definitely not having the raisins in it is kind of changing it a bit. So I think what I'm gonna do while I'm waiting for this to come to a boil is I'm going to put a little bit of raisins in half of these tart pans and I'm just gonna put them on the bottom. So that's all I did, is just put them on the bottom. I walked away for literally 2 seconds and it burnt the bottom of this. I don't wanna have that burnt egg in here, so I am going to do this all over again because I just don't wanna have that yucky taste to it. I was trying to do something else quickly and anyways. All right, never mind. I'm not gonna redo it. It's actually not burnt egg. It's sugar and it tastes perfectly fine. I thought I would just taste some of it to see what it was, but it's just the sugar that was on the bottom that burnt a little bit and it tastes perfectly fine. It doesn't taste off in any way. So it is salvageable. I do not like throwing out ingredients because butter is not cheap, either is sugar. So that's good that we can save this. Side note, it tastes delicious. So we are going to keep stirring it and bring this to a boil, and we are not going to leave it side until the 3 minutes is up. I've let it boil for about 3 minutes. So we're going to fill these unbaked tart pans. Turn this off. And we're just gonna pour it in. These are pretty big tarts. Probably filled some of those too much. Might go and empty some of them. I'm just stirring the raisins in a bit so that they're evenly distributed. So I only got, what, 6, 7, 8, 9. I only got 9 filled with that amount of sauce. And some of them that are really full, I'm just kind of bringing them to the ones that aren't as full. Because it's such a rich sauce, you don't want them too overflowing. That should be good. So I am going to take these out because obviously we're not using them. And then I'm gonna put raisins in one more. That way we have 4 with raisins and 5 without. I'm gonna add some water to these. All right, and so we're gonna bake them for 15 minutes. You kind of wanna get this pot washed out right away because it is a harder can, like a sugar. You don't want it to harden and it'll be really hard to clean it out. So I go and wash these right away. Because I'm using vintage Pyrex and vintage Revware. I don't put these in the dishwasher. They're not, Pyrex is definitely not safe in the dishwasher. It causes the paint to come off. So I hand wash almost all of my dishes. So I'm just gonna, and same with like the wood utensils, you're not supposed to put them in the dishwasher either. You're supposed to hand wash and then dry right away. Things like the spoons, though, I do put in the dishwasher. I just checked these and I am gonna leave them in for a bit longer because you can see the crust is still really white. The actual filling is looking good, but that crust needs to brown up a bit, which I figured was gonna end up happening because we are using that stoneware. So we're just gonna maybe leave it in for maybe another 5 minutes. So what I've done in the meantime, I've taken 4 pork chops and I've just used my tenderizer. So I just got this at IKEA. It's just a tenderizer. And I just kind of tenderized these pork chops a little bit because they were super thick. They were over 1 inch thick. So I don't want them that thick to fry them. I also realized that the recipe that I printed off only printed off half of the recipe. I don't know why. I keep only printing off half recipes. So I'm gonna go upstairs quickly and find the recipe again, hope that I didn't delete it, and then quickly print off the other portion of it because it only has the very beginning part. It doesn't tell me how to make the gravy, which is, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You just pretty much make a roux. But I wanna know how to do it on this recipe, so I'm gonna go up and find that while we're waiting for those to finish up. The pie shells or the tart shells are not browning up the way I like them to, and I do not want to overcook that filling, so I'm just going to take them out now. So that is the beautiful color of them. I remember making this recipe a while ago, and I did not like the fact that the tart shells did not cook thoroughly. So I think next time I make this, yeah, they're not super cooked. I'll take one out and show you. They're really hot. That's what they look like. They're so good. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to have it. You know what? They are pretty cooked. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and put these on a cooling rack. Just take them out of the tart pan because the center has to harden up a bit because right now, I don't know if you can see, it's super soft. So it needs to cool down, and once it cools, then that center becomes like a nice, almost like a corn syrupy texture. These are so hot. I could probably definitely leave them in this so I don't have to burn my hand, but I just want to get them out and onto the cooling rack so they can cool quicker. I just jab the side of that with my knife. I'm not going for perfection with looks, I'm going for taste. Apparently I'm also going for a hospital visit, burning my hands. Hot, hot. Okay, no burns. Look at how delicious those are. This is what I meant. I jabbed it with my knife. They're so good. I now have to control myself probably for an hour and try not to eat one. Oh, they're delicious. I just had some lunch and just kind of sat down for a minute or two. These are completely cooled now, and I want to show you guys what they look like because I can't wait any longer. I really need to try one. So break it in half. That's what the inside looks like. It's like a firm texture. I love them. Oh, so good. So good. They are definitely still hot inside though, so I am gonna let the rest cool. And I'm glad I grabbed one with raisins so that Steve doesn't get stuck with one. But we're gonna get started on these pork chops. So I need to put eggs in one of them in this wash. I'll show you in a minute, but look at this egg. I absolutely love having chickens that lay all different colors, but this one is absolutely gorgeous. Light is, I don't know if you can see, I don't think the light's picking it up, but it is speckled. It's so pretty. Ah, I love these eggs. They lay such beautiful colored eggs. Just drinking some of my kombucha that I showed you guys how to make. Super, super delicious. Wash down that butter tart. It's not healthy. Okay, so we are gonna make country fried pork with white gravy. Just looking over this recipe, it looks exactly like it's like a pork schnitzel with like a gravy on it. It reminds me a lot of that, so I think I will definitely like this. Steven likes schnitzel also, so he will like this recipe. So what we're gonna do, I have 2 pie plates here, kind of like an assembly line. So in the first pie plate, we are going to whisk together flour, cayenne pepper, salt, and pepper. This recipe says to use about 2 to 3 cups of flour. I think we're gonna start with 2 because it's overflowing. And then this is cayenne pepper, so we're just gonna sprinkle that. Remember, it has gravy on it, so if it's too hot, the gravy will help with that. This is pepper. Pepper and gravy go well together, so we'll put lots of pepper in there. And then salt. The recipe does not give you measurements, it just says to taste. Give this a little whisk. Get the pork chops out of the fridge also. And then to this pie plate, we are gonna add 1.5 cups of milk and 2 eggs. Now my eggs are pretty small, so that's why I have 3 eggs out here. This pie plate's gonna be big enough. Let's use the beautiful one first. I'm actually gonna crack it to here, just in case we get a bad egg. Because this is so overflowed with milk, I'm just beating the egg in here and then adding it to here. Not make as much of a mess. It says to salt and pepper the pork chops. I wash my hands a lot when dealing with meat. This recipe says 2 to 3 pounds of thin pork chops or tenderloin. So we tenderized those pork chops so to make them a little bit thinner. We're just gonna have to fry them a little bit longer because it does say that you have to fry them for 2 to 3 minutes depending on the thickness on each side. Pork you do not like to overcook, so we're just kind of have to monitor it. I'm just gonna get a plate out here and then we'll put the breaded ones over on this plate. Oh, the other thing we have to do is we have to get oil heated up. I'm using a very large cast iron skillet. I don't know how big it is, it's huge. So we need to get some oil heating up in this pan and then that way we can put them in there when they're done. So we're gonna dip the pork in the egg, then the flour, then back in the egg, and then back in the flour. So we're essentially gonna do it twice. And I'm keeping one clean hand. So I guess the difference between this and schnitzel is schnitzel you want a very, very thin piece of meat. And I'm guessing that I probably left these way too thick, but it's too late now. We'll just accommodate. That's gotten way too hot. I had to just take that off the burner. I could smell it burning. I forgot it on there. So we'll just take it off the burner and let it cool down for a minute. Because if I put them in, that's gonna just burn them. And I don't wanna do that. I want hot oil, but I don't want it that hot. That should be okay and not like really overly hot. I turned the burner down also. Probably gonna put it on about 4. That's good. Okay. Let's add these pork chops in. That's not hot enough. Happy mediums. Turn it up a little bit. And so we're gonna do, I would say, because these are pretty thick, we're gonna do about 5 minutes per side. I'm gonna flip them. It has not been 5 minutes yet, but they are starting to, this pan is also like really has hot spots. So some of the sides are getting really brown and some of them are not. Probably gonna have to reflip them again. I took a baking sheet out because what I'm gonna do, because it's only 2 o'clock, I'm actually gonna end up putting these in the oven and just kind of leaving them in there, and then we'll make the gravy later on because we're not gonna be eating obviously at 2 o'clock. So I am using a avocado oil to fry these in. I just have to refill my avocado thing that's on my counter. I keep my oil in this cute little thing and then I just have it on my counter when I need it. And it's nice and small so that the oil doesn't go bad, because it is a clear colored container and it is on the counter, so it's exposed to a lot of light. But I use it, like I empty this out within, a week. So it's not sitting on the counter too long. Like, definitely browning. Like, I feel like this one is very close to being done. I think what I'm gonna do is, because I'm putting them in the oven, I think I'm gonna take them off now, because I do not want them to overcook. The ones that are looking like they're very brown, I'll take off. So that's what they look like. I think they're actually cooked in the middle. So I'm gonna put them in the oven, and I'm just gonna leave it on the keep warm feature for now. If I find that they're really starting to get really cooked, then what I'll do is I'll just take them out. But that way they'll stay nice and warm until I'm ready to get the gravy done. And actually, you know what? We might make the gravy now and then we can just reheat it up before we make it. Because like I said, I lack motivation. It is starting to rain outside too. So I'm like, my energy levels, as soon as the sun goes away, my energy level just goes, I don't know why. I just lack motivation and energy on gray and dark days. Nighttime, I just am ready for bed. So let's get the gravy done now while I have energy, while it's somewhat bright outside. All right, so we need to get 4 tablespoons of butter melted in this saucepan. And then we need to add 1/4 cup of flour, 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and then salt and pepper to taste. And then we're gonna whisk in 2 cups of milk. It's got the 4 tablespoons of butter in here, just melting it, and then I'm gonna whisk in that 1/4 cup of flour. Okay, so that butter's melted. We are gonna add the 1/4 of the flour, a little bit of cayenne, some pepper, and some salt. Actually, might add a little bit more pepper. Just whisk this together until it gets nice and fragrant. Okay, let's slowly whisk in this flour. It is a nice brown color. And it kind of smells a little nutty, which is perfect. So we're gonna slowly mix in this milk. We do this so that we don't get lumps. So it says to continue whisking it for 10 to 12 minutes while it thickens. The sauce is really starting to thicken up. It's a nice thick sauce. Probably let it go for another 5 minutes. I think I'm gonna take it off the burner because I think it's done. I'm just gonna give it a quick little taste. It actually needs more salt. try it now. Yeah, that's way better. We're gonna take it off the heat. You guys, I am giving you a review of the IKEA peelers. This is the one that I bought last year and I absolutely love it. This is the one that I have been buying for, I don't know, 30 years, 20 years, forever. I bought this one, I showed you in the haul. It does not work good at all. I wish they wouldn't have changed the styles. This one is horrible, horrible. It's probably gonna end up in the garbage. I'm going back to my old peeler. Wish this one was the same, but it's not. I wanted to show you guys, in case you've never noticed, on my counter I have a little like mason jar full of spoons. I keep that mason jar there. That was a tip I found on Instagram, and it said to always have a little thing of spoons by your stove so that you can always have a clean spoon to taste test. I absolutely love having that on my counter. Spoons are by far my most used utensil, and it is so quick and easy just having that thing on the counter. That was an amazing tip, and I would definitely recommend trying that out. And if you don't like clutter on your counter, then that's not gonna necessarily work. But for somebody who is constantly making stuff from scratch and always having, or just somebody who cooks a lot, this is amazing. And all I did is I actually went to thrift stores, antique stores, and I found these really tall, they're called iced tea or sweet tea spoons, and they're really long. I do have just like regular spoons in here also, but yeah, super, super smart idea, and I'm so glad I found that tip. Well, I am gonna go and try to get some computer work done now that we've got most of our supper prepped. We had a pretty productive day today, despite me feeling like I was running like a snail. We got the rest of that tomato sauce all canned up. We got supper prepped. Almost all of it's done. I was able to get the sweet potatoes cut up and put into some water, and they're just gonna sit on the stove until we're ready to eat supper, and then I'm just gonna heat them up. I'm gonna boil them and then mash them with a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper, and then that will be delicious. I think we're also going to I have these from my garden. These are some kohlrabies. These are the ones that I showed you outside. So this is one of the smaller ones. So I have 2 left. We've already eaten 3 of them. So I think I'm gonna cut these up tonight and have with supper. Thanks for joining me while we get all of this stuff done. I hope you guys have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and thank you so much for watching the video. Here it is. Got the pork chops with the white gravy. This is the kohlrabi, and I accidentally spilled a whole bunch of pepper in it, so it's a very peppery kohlrabi, and then we have the mashed sweet potatoes. So that is the spread. I tasted a little bit of the pork chop, and they are actually cooked inside, so can't wait to have it. Bye guys.